guys, hi, how's it going? How y'all doing today? Hopefully today finds you well. Today I am doing another best and worst shade in my palette collection for the palettes that I have within a certain brand. And today we're going to be looking at Morphe. I don't have very many palettes from Morphe because Morphe is not a brand that I 100% stand behind. And I still have, I think, one in my drawer of shame, so that one's not going to be part of this, but we are going to go through the best and worst shade in a palette as it pertains to the palettes that I have in my collection from the Morphe brand. And if that sounds like something you're interested in, I hope that you keep on watching. I have a lot of fun with it. You guys seem to also have a lot of fun with it, and that is what we're doing today. For those of you new here, hi, my name is Donna. I am a lover of all things high-end, colorful beauty and self-care. I also work as a field business leader for Ulta, so I get a lot of education in my position. I like to bring you that education here, but ultimately, I'm just out here talking about makeup because I like makeup and I like to talk about it. And if that brings solace to your soul and the way it brings solace to mine, then I hope that you'll want to subscribe before you go. I am trying to reach 2,000 subscribers before my birthday in September. I don't think that that's on the horizon, but I would sure appreciate it, and I would sure love to have you as part of this YouTube fam. So don't forget to hit me up down in the comment section and let me know that you're new around here. I would love to welcome you personally. And with that said, let's roll into this video where we are going to be talking about the best and worst shade in the palettes that I have from the Morphe brand. Okay, so here we are, and I think we only have 6 palettes, but 2 of them are gigantic palettes, and one of them is from a ye who shall not be named creator, so we're just gonna talk about it as the Artistry Palette instead of the whatever it is palette. Let's start there. We're gonna get this one out of the way. This is the Artistry Palette that came out actually twice. Once in this gigantic format, and once in a same color story, just much smaller pans. I wish I would have waited to pick up the smaller one. I only keep this around because it is truly every single shadow that you could ever desire in an eyeshadow palette. That said, I don't love Morphe as a brand. I think that Morphe's formula is a great formula for newbies. I think that their palettes are great for, you know, makeup artists that are doing makeup on millions of people and maybe need 100 different tones of the same shade in their eyeshadow palette. But for the most part, I don't really love Morphe. The best shade in this one, in my humble opinion, is probably this red shade. It is by far probably the best red matte shade that I have in my collection, in that it is just truly red. I'm gonna go with this purple right here for worst because it feels weird in the pan, and it also just doesn't showcase in an eye look in the way it shows in a finger swatch. It's very hard to get to show up in an eye look. So best shade is going to be this red. I mean, look at how red that is. That is a perfect red shade. And then worst is going to be this purple shimmer that I just feel like is ho-hum. I think that we could have done a much better job, and I'm going in with a second swatch here. We could have done a much better job of making this a really beautiful, impactful shimmer on the eye. I think they were trying to go for a little bit of a duochrome on this, but the shift is just not, I mean, it's just not there. It's just not gorgeous. It's just not pretty. And I really feel like that red is such a beautiful red on an eye look and shows up so impactful on an eye look. I will say this red does kind of stain. I mean, it is the Artistry Palette, and if you remember back in the day when the artist that is attached to this palette was prefacing this palette, it was like, these are pressed pigments. They're going to stain your eyes. It does stain. But this one just kind of wipes away to nothingness, and it isn't at all impactful on an eye look. And the red is just really, truly a beautiful red. There's not very many reds that are matte reds that you find in your collection that actually blend out to still be red, or go on an eye look to still be red. A lot of the times they become pink or kind of orangey depending on what their base is. This one I feel like truly stays red. The red one is called You're Kidding, and the purple one is called Artistry, and I just think that for a shade that's called Artistry, it really should have been better than that. Y'all know how I feel about this palette. This is the Morphe Such a Gem palette, and it's purple and beautiful, and I really do truly love this palette. And I would say that the worst for me is this one here because it is a glitter, but I'm not going to go with that one because it is a glitter, and that is an obvious answer for me. This is so big I can't hardly fit it into the frame. For me, the best shadow is probably going to be this one here, which is this beautiful, like super shock, like feeling like silver pinky color. And then the worst I feel like is going to be this one here. It just feels weird and it gets hard pan on it and it doesn't perform like it should. So best, look at how beautiful that is. Kind of got this like ethereal feel to it, and it's just like this pinky purple beauty, and really perfect for like an inner corner, like all over the first third of the lid, like ethereal, like angelic almost look to it. And then this is the gray one that I said is the worst. That just looks like poop, and it looks that way because it gets hard pan so easy, and even a second swatch. What is that? The pink one right here is called Here For It, and the like gray-ish one is called Dazzle 'Em, and I just don't feel like that dazzles anybody. It just looks dirty. There is some glitter to it. Hopefully I'll be able to get close enough that you guys can see that. It is definitely multi-dimensional, but I feel like that glitter kind of blends away as you're buffing it into an eye look, or, you know, trying to soften up the edges of it. So then it just looks like this dingy gray color on your lid, and it's just not pretty. I do have the iconic Jaclyn Hill palette, and this is the original, so it has been in my collection for forever. And I think this palette is just, I mean, like, what was the excitement back in the day for this palette? I can't for the life of me fathom why we were all so excited about this palette. But for me, I would say the best shade is probably this one here. I use it often, and just as a all over the lid, like setting shade almost. It does have a little bit of a like shimmeriness to it, but not so bad. But like, look at how beautiful that is, and it is truly just pretty. Really hard for me to come up with a worst in this palette because this is a really good Morphe palette. But I would say that my worst here is this green here. It's just so dark and feels just very weird in the pan, and I wanted it to like just perform a little better than this one does. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it is extremely patchy, and this is just a finger swatch, so it might look patchy because of that. But even on like blending it out or anything that you do with it, it is just patchy. And honestly, it's so dark, there's so much black inundated in it that it just looks like black, so in an eye look. So why not just have the black that is honestly such a better performer than that green is? It just doesn't do anything for an eye look, and it doesn't honestly bring anything but patchiness and hate and discontent to what you're trying to accomplish in an eye look. If you want a green, there are far better greens out there, far better greens honestly in the Morphe lineup as well, so I just don't love it. This shade right here is called In Light, and it's just a really pretty like creamy, buttery, almost orange hinted like champagne color. And this green right here is called Enchanted, and I just don't love it. The next one we're going to do is going to be the Morphe Desert Bouquet. And you know, I didn't think I was gonna like this palette when I first got it. I did get it in gratis, and I was like, this is an easy like declutter palette for me because I don't 100% love like some of the like, I mean, 2/3 of this palette is more pastel-y tones, but I gotta tell you, I had a really good time with this palette, and I really do love, love, love this shade right here. And it is called Agave My Heart. I mean, it is just truly a beautiful, like, satiny shade. And I really feel like the worst one in this palette is this pink right here. And it is called Cactus Fruit. And I feel that way because I just expect more from Morphe in a pink. So this one is best. And I mean, look at how just wonderfully one swipe that went on. It is just beautiful. There is no patchiness in it. It is a satin that can very well play as a matte in any eye look, and it's just pretty. And then the pink, again, I just feel like is really patchy, and it dusts away into nothing when you are trying to blend it. And I really expect more from Morphe when it comes to their pink shades. Let me go in with a second swatch of that. And it looks definitely better, but as you blend it in an eye look, it just truly blends away, which is weird because it stains. So I don't understand what the deal is with this pink because it should stay in an eye look and it just doesn't. I did have a whole lot of fun with this palette that I did not think I was going to have. And then we have the Morphe 35M, which is the Boss Mood palette, and this is one of my favorite palettes. I feel like somebody just said, shut up. Okay, neighbor. This is one of my favorite palettes by Morphe. I did get it as a gift from somebody that I had trained at Starbucks, and this is a palette that I would say like these greens are better greens than that one that is in the palette by Jaclyn Hill for them. My favorite shade in this palette is probably this one here. I hate these. I hate them so much. It is called Express Yourself. My least favorite in this palette is probably this one, and it's just because of the color of it. This one is called Sheen Stealer, and it is a beautiful like grungy like antique-y green, but I don't love it in my eye look. So this is my favorite. Look at how beautiful green that is in one swatch. Such a pretty like chartreusey green, which is my favorite color. And then this one is the Sheen Stealer. I'm trying to do it so that you guys can see the swatches, but it's not working out so hot. So that one is the Sheen Stealer, and I want it to be just a smidge bit more green than it is because for me this just looks like a bronze, and I don't really love bronze on me. I also feel like this one has a lot of glitter in it that just kind of falls all over my face all the time every time I wear it. It is a beautiful shadow. I just don't like it on me. So for me, this one is about the color of it versus the performance of it. And then the last palette that I have that we'll talk about today is this Morphe 9P, which is the Petal Passion palette. It is something that I also got in gratis. I think I got it in gratis a couple years ago. And actually I had a really great time with this Morphe palette. I think this is by far a palette full of the best formulas that I have ever experienced with Morphe. It made me interested in potentially picking up more of these 9 pans, but then I talked some sense into myself. I don't need Morphe eyeshadows when I have a whole plethora of other eyeshadows in my collection that I just love more. For me, the best one in this palette is probably going to be this one here. It is a really beautiful kind of like muted, like rosy pink color. And for me, the worst is honestly this one here, which kind of feels like a Super Shock shadow. But again, it just gets hard panned really easily. And there's like bits of chunkiness in here that I'm not sure what it is, honestly. It is part of the shadow. That much I know. It's not like weirdness, like mold or anything like that. It feels very Super Shocky, but it's just not super impactful. The rosy tone one is called Big Apple, and the like shimmery one is called I'm Busy, and they're both like super beautiful. I just don't love using the shimmer one wholeheartedly because I feel like there's better shimmers out there. But look at this rosy pink. And the best part about this is that it blends out beautifully. The eye looks that I use this shade in just turn out so, so pretty. And then I'm Busy is pretty. I just feel like it could have been, I mean, look at, it's just not as beautiful and impactful as it could be. I'm going to swatch that somewhere else. It is so much better on my hand than it is even in the swatch on my arm, but your hand skin is a little bit different than your arm skin. Your arm skin, I think more, especially this on the inside, more mimic your eye skin, to be honest, but it is pretty. It's just like, this is what it ends up looking like on an eye. And I just think that it's not as impactful as it could be. And it's weirdly like chunky. So like when you're putting it on your face, like it flakes off in chunks as well. And it causes so much texture in my eye looks. I mean, I think that you can see like every crick and crevice in my hand that it is covering. It is the same way in my eye looks. And yes, I know I have aging eyes, but like when you can get a really good shimmer to glide over the top of your eyes and not showcase all of the texture that you are the sink into the fine lines and wrinkles or exacerbate the texture that you have on your eyes with another eyeshadow palette, I would say that that's the one thing about that. Now the Super Shock on the other side of this palette, so there's this one too. I feel like this one is better. It's a completely different formula, it feels like, and it doesn't have like the chunky bits in it like this one does. So I don't mind that one, but I try and steer clear of the other one. So I'm going to take a picture. On the one side I have the best shades, and I actually think this would make a pretty eyeshadow palette. And then I also have the worst shades, which I also think would make a pretty palette, but we would have to make sure that those shadows looked better than they do here. But man, this picture, wait until you see that red. You can really see the red there. I do think that this side of my arm right here, that would make a beautiful palette. What do you guys think? I should pop those out of there and utilize this as a like build your own palette kind of mindset. I don't know if they pop out. Does anybody know if they pop out? I don't know that I want to destroy the palettes though either. So there's that. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I do hope that you enjoyed the video. Just a quick little, let's talk about Morphe a little bit, because I don't talk about Morphe hardly ever on my channel. And I do know, I am aware that many of these palettes you can't get anymore, but I like to talk about the things that are in my collection more than I'm talking about the new things that are coming into my collection, because I want to help us all be conscious consumers. So with that said, this is my best shades of Morphe, and these are my worst shades of Morphe for the 6 palettes that I have in my collection to showcase for you. And I hope that you enjoyed it. Don't forget to let me know down in the comment section how you felt about the video, and let me know what you think the best and worst shades are in these palettes if you have them, or let me know what palettes you have from Morphe and what the best and worst shades are in those palettes. In your humble opinion, I would be interested to hear from you. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I appreciate every one of you for being here. Please stay safe. Please be kind humans. Please love each other. And until next time, bye friends.